The Kings are the surprise team of the league, of course, Gonz. Nobody really would have expected them to be in the playoff conversation and the loaded Western Conference.
They've been good.
It's nuts.
I can't believe it. Welcome to Trade Deadline Week. I'm John Gonzalez. He's Kevin O'Connor. We've been checking out all of the different storylines that are happening in the league, and a topic that came to our mind, teams that might buy that we maybe didn't expect. Who are some unlikely buying candidates in the NBA?
I think you have to look at the Brooklyn Nets. With their state of the team right now, they could potentially become a destination.
Yeah.
The team is playing extremely well since sputtering early on, despite Caris LeVert being out. He's due back sometime in February, maybe early March, we'll see. The Nets are a playoff team in the East, and they can make themselves even more appealing if they're able to add one guy.
Yeah, it's really amazing that out of nowhere the Nets went from being like the dregs of the league and an NBA Siberia outpost to all of a sudden being relevant and then potentially being a destination for a free agent. What do you think they would need to add though if they were going to go that route?
Well, I think for Brooklyn, they need to be cautious about giving too much up, because of the fact is that they can create a lot of cap space, possibly 2 max slots this summer or the following summer if they roll it over, where, maybe you're not gonna make a big splash now. It's just really, I think, for them about continuing doing what you're doing. I think Caris LeVert coming back will elevate their ceiling a little bit more this postseason, but for them to be in the position they're in now, Gonz, it's really hard to believe.
Ahead of schedule.
It's a credit to Sean Marks for adding some nice pieces like Caris LeVert with the 21st pick, and to Kenny Atkinson for getting these guys playing.
Russell is playing better. Spencer Dinwiddie before he went down was playing really well.
Rodion Kurucs in the second round. A lot of great players.
Shocking. Good times in Brooklyn. Another sort of surprising potential buyer. The Sacramento Kings? Are the Sacramento Kings, could they possibly add?
The Kings are the surprise team of the league, of course, Gonz. Nobody really would have expected them to be in the playoff conversation and the loaded Western Conference.
They've been good.
It's nuts.
I can't believe it.
Fox might be the most improved player of the year, going from really not that great last year as a rookie to great so far this season. I think for Sacramento, they did inquire about Marc Gasol from the Memphis Grizzlies, who would be an interesting add for them. There was the talk that they
Again, that doesn't, timeline-wise, I'm not
I
sure,
know,
like, what are you doing here? You're building around the young team.
But when you haven't made the playoffs for a decade, you do some crazy things.
And that's fair, and that brings me to the last team that I wonder if they're an unlikely buyer, the Detroit Pistons, because when you haven't made the playoffs in a long time, the Pistons have a new arena, they're trying to get people to pay attention. The Kings have a new arena, they're trying to get people to pay attention. I get the idea of like being relevant and being in the playoffs is something that is of interest, not just to the fan base, but also to ownership.
What if they're actually unlikely sellers?
You'd go the other way.
What if that's the case, where with Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson, you try to move those guys? Because the Pistons are another team that inquired about Gasol. When you look at the money and the salaries they'd have to give up, I'm not sure what would be in that deal besides something involving Drummond.
There's been talk about the Reggies maybe being on the block, Jackson and Bullock, so potentially they might be willing to part with those guys. I just wonder, if you're the Pistons, like, what are you doing here? Like, you're like pretty much hard capped, and you've got this new building, and nobody's going. You've got to, like, to your point about like you want people to pay attention. You've got to figure out something new here.
And it's rough because they gave up a lot for Blake.
Yeah.
And Blake's been pretty good with his revised role under Dwayne Casey, running more point, getting the team into the offense more. Finally, Point Blake. Finally seeing it.
Point Blake.
But the surrounding pieces around him just aren't enough for them to be a legitimate contending team in the weak Eastern Conference.
So many players and teams to monitor. We'll continue to do that. Be sure to check out all of our trade deadline updates on theringer.com. He's Kevin O'Connor. I'm John Gonzalez.